to see people come in over here to the right. It says viewers up in the upper right hand corner there. And then we'll start seeing people chat. It takes us a few seconds for this to synchronize. And I think there's about a 5-second to 10-second delay. I've never changed it. It's mainly for like if you need to, you have some real-time editing, like where if you wanted to bleep something out or something like that, that's what it's for. Well, we don't do anything. We're not that sophisticated here in these parts, so we don't have any of that. But we'll let some folks get in. But and I'll go through what the kind of agenda today is, as we kind of let people know what's coming up this week and what we're going to be focused on. On taking pretty much everything we did last week and go into the Linux. We see some people in here. We got about 12 in here now. We'll give it a few more minutes. How's it going, guys? Well, welcome. Early afternoon in the U.S. So it's a little after 4:30 Central Time. It's 5:30 Eastern Time. That puts it, 2:30 or so in the West Coast. 3:30 or 3:30, I believe, actually, West Coast. So we should have some folks, and then that puts us +6 on Europe from where we're at. So if it's 4 here, it's 10 in Europe, 10:30, London. Has the agenda BTC to the moon, right? Yeah, well, we'll see. It's down a little bit today. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world right now. You're going live while I'm driving right now. There you go, man. Just pay attention. There's nothing on the screen that's important right now. Just pay attention to your driving. Hot and smoky California, he says. 22:41 here in the UK. You minus that off of that is 10 o'clock, right? Military time. There's a few things. I'll pull up CoinMarketCap just to have it up here, and we could talk a few things. But we're going to be covering kind of what's coming up. Ray and I are going to cover a few things actually today. We're going to record separately. You guys saw a lot of content around just the Windows setup, just kind of getting them familiar with like the miners and how to configure them. We're going to go another step where we're going to go through and do it on Linux. So to get them familiar, and you guys also familiar that you're not really familiar with like doing something like simple mining and Hive OS. There's a couple different alternatives out there. There's also other alternatives that sit on top of Windows that we didn't cover. That, the way we were mining is where you download mining software, you give it your address from your own wallet. There's other opportunities out there which are called brokerage services, stuff like NiceHash. There's CUDA Miner. There's a handful of these broker services that we're not covering in this particular Newbie series. We may cover it at some other point, but these are where you can download a piece of software to Windows and it'll configure the miner automatically. It's not always the best settings, but you sell your hash power to somebody else. So you just provide them with like a Bitcoin address, and then, which is your Bitcoin address, and then people will spot price buy your hash rate against other people that are selling it. So you'll get some equivalent to a market rate for your rig. Most of the time it's pretty close to what you could have been mining yourself. The difference is you're just getting paid in Bitcoin. So some people take that hedge of saying, you know what, I don't want to mine anything else. This is a way for me to use a GPU mining rig to get Bitcoin, right? Because then somebody's going to pay you for their hash rate in Bitcoin, and then they are going to point your rig somewhere else. So that's one thing we haven't covered, like in Windows. You can also do it in Linux. Like it's just a matter of pointing your services to that service, and you can get paid in that. But we didn't cover that. We're going to go right into Linux in today's build that we're going to do off stream, and then we're going to condense that into a couple different episodes for you guys as Ray's learning that side of it, on how to configure Linux. We're going to download it from the website. We're going to load it onto a USB drive. We're going to put it in the machine. We'll put in your your username and all that, and then that will boot up and catch the site will show you that, hey, you're trying to put a new rig on your login, and then we'll configure that. So it'll show you that aspect, and then you'll probably have these questions that'll come up from people that are gonna say, why did you show them Windows? I think we saw a few of those from people, where people were talking about like, why are you even wasting your time with Windows when you could just go straight to Linux? But it's good to know both sides of it. There's a lot of people that don't feel comfortable with Linux. Hopefully we can get them comfortable with that. Some of these OSs also provide you like your first rig free. So like I think Hive still does that, where they'll just let you, if you only have one rig, it doesn't cost you anything to use their service, and they just let you do it. And then you have options where like you'll pay a small nominal fee, because I mean they are providing you a service. They're updating the miners and all that kind of stuff for you. Let's see what people are saying. We got a few people in here. Hash pounding on a RVN to the moon. It's 1 hour later in Denmark, so it's 11. Don't use NiceHash, it's a scam. So there's some history with NiceHash that I didn't get into with you. So there was a situation in crypto. There's lots of situations with any of these major companies. There's always been something that's been tarnishing their I don't think there's hardly been any crypto to think of it that's not had some kind of issue or some kind of customer service issue or something to that effect. But NiceHash had a hack where somebody got into their hot wallet and moved a whole bunch of coins out. I want to say it was like 2018, somewhere around there, and stole a whole bunch of user funds. So, when we were configuring the pool setup, a lot of people, when you first set up stuff and you set up on a pool, the pool actually holds the coins. So like I give you everybody an example right now. I have the iPolo Grin miner that I'm going to be doing a review on that's coming up. It's like a 1.6 graph per second, Cuckoo cycle 32. And I've won 3 blocks. I'm doing solo mining with Grin solo pool, and so far in the last week I've won 3 solo blocks, which are pretty cool. Grin's network requires you to be online to receive the coins. It's like a very interactive network, so it requires you to have your wallet online to receive the coins. So right now those coins are still sitting on the pool, so it's sitting in a pool wallet. So this, for NiceHash, a lot of people would have things sitting in NiceHash's wallet, and they won't necessarily remove those coins right away. They'll just let them set up in the NiceHash wallet. You can get into their interface and all that. Well, and I think it was 2018, maybe it was 2017, when their hack happened, any of the funds that were in those hot wallets were swept, and people took them, right? So NiceHash took several years to pay that back, but I think, and people in the chat can correct me if I didn't have any, so I wasn't directly affected by NiceHash's hack, because I wasn't using NiceHash's service at all. And then, but I want to say they paid people back in like the USD value or something. It wasn't like if you had like 3 Bitcoin in there, they paid you back 3 Bitcoin. Right. It was just like they spot priced it at the time of the attack, I believe, and then they paid everybody back. And this is a way a lot of it, like the Mt. Gox hack that happened, which kind of kicked off this whole idea that exchanges can be hacked, their hot wallets, back in 2014. I believe it was 2014. No, it was 2013. 2013, one of the largest exchanges at the time was hacked. And all the funds were moved off. And then there was like this trust fund, because they got some of them back, and they were paying people back. They're essentially equivalent to their USD value back then, which, I mean, we're talking like 2013 Bitcoin, right? Yeah. So you'd be pretty slighted if it's like, well, you only had like $400 in Bitcoin. At that time, it was like 4 Bitcoins, so you get paid back like a point something Bitcoin, you'd be pretty pissed. But so a lot of these things, so if you see people saying, hey, NiceHash sucks, don't use it and all this, they just, I mean, rightfully so, people were burned and people were upset about that. And, NiceHash charges a percentage. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I want to say it's close to about 8%. So whatever your yield is, you're paying them for their service. And there's other existential issues with using brokerage services that are a concern for the space in general. because people, let's say 30% of like a particular network's algorithm, Ethash, Ethereum as an example, if that was able to be bought by the highest bidder, you could potentially like attack the network. Like somebody could come in there, buy up all the hash rate, and now they can force all that hash rate somewhere. You see what I mean? So that's the issue with brokerage services is when you're thinking of like the way decentralization works and you don't want a centralized hash rate. So there is a kind of a due diligence and a behavior, like I would say like a soft cap that NiceHash would be a prize to uphold, where that like if they saw that they were at like 10% of an entire network's potential hash rate, that they would then just stop accepting incoming connections type of thing. They could do that. I don't think they've ever gotten high enough to have that, but there's these untold behaviors in the crypto space that you don't ever want any one pool having more than 51%. And that could be monitored on that mining pool stats, and I'll bring that up here in a second, because you want to be able to hold people accountable to the risks that are associated to the network, right? So let's see what people are talking about. I can rant about all this stuff. What about NiceHash fees? NiceHash fees are about 8%, I believe, right now. They paid back the stolen funds, so they say, says Mechanicorn. Nice name, bro. I don't know. I wasn't affected by it. I didn't have funds on NiceHash at the time. So it could be people that I've always told people that have said, "Hey, they never paid me back," is to just provide the transaction history. Like if you had money stolen from you, hopefully you'd have some kind of record of that, and then you would have like if you were paid back or not, and that could be disputed. I would be more mad that the fact that I got less, I didn't get the actual yield back. That would piss me off, right? Like, bro, I had like 3 in there and you only gave me like 0.6. It's not, circumstantially, we all had confidence that the coin was going to go up in value, but you're not really helping somebody else. Ray is not my son. Everybody says he's his son. It is not my son. Ray is learning. Mike Brown says it's the best crypto mining education here. Well, I'm glad for that, my dude. Thank you, sir. What am I paying? Why am I paying NiceHash higher fees if they don't even have settings for LHR card yet? Well, I think it takes a little bit for people to implement the new miners first off. So you got to understand the way like the dev process works in general. So like if that service, I think Simple Mining rolled it out pretty quick, which is what the person in the chat's talking about is NB Miner, one of those miners just released a new modification of their driver that takes on the light hash rate reduction that the Nvidia card. So that 3080 Ti we just were testing here, the one that you did, that was on Raven. The reason why we had it on Raven is because on the Ethash, when it runs Ethash, it's actually a reduced speed. So that's why we only were seeing like 50 something on that card. The other 3080s get like 100. So like there's the driver for the card, that thing that we downloaded from Nvidia, has like a thing that's like handicapping the card. And miners, developers have been working ways around that handicap to try to boost up the performance of it. So they implemented something that's supposed to give it like 70% of its output. That's supposed to bring it up to like 72 or 74 mega hash versus the 50, which is a pretty significant bump when it's like an extra 20 mega hash. It's almost like a whole other card. So there was a question why like NiceHash isn't using that new miner, but again, like a new release, they have to have it as part of their payload and make sure that it's not, that they're building from source and all that kind of stuff. So it takes a little bit. I think Simple Mining just added it. I would assume Hive would add it within the next day or so. If you have root access to your to the software, like if you go into Hive directly, you can actually import your own miner and stuff. So you could take that. Beginner for a farm. What's a G? What? Levy Litron. Mike, is mining your full-time job? No. If you're asking me, it is a side quest, my dudes. that I spend a lot of time with you guys, helping you guys try to mine too. Question: do you make a video for noobs and how to buy and sell a Ravencoin? So we can have an exchange video. That is actually a good one. We'll have BBT Vanessa that's watching. That's a good one, Vanessa. We want to look at that question there and record that one. Yeah, so we were gonna. So the first part was how to mine, right? That's what we get into it. Use your hardware. How do you able to throw some hashes and participate, get coin? Your next obvious question is going to be like, okay, I want to pay for my power cost maybe with part of my proceeds. Like, how do I do that? And that's a good question. Like, where can you go? How do you find out? And one of the things I'll show people, I'll click over. You can always go to find out where the trading volume of a particular token is. You can go to something like CoinMarketCap. We'll show you that. So if I switch over to the screen real quick, you can always go to like CoinMarketCap, and then let's just say, well, maybe we could use Ravencoin as that example. Let's go up here. Raven's not in the top 25 yet. So Raven. So if you go here and then you go into market, you can first off find out where's the volume being done? Where's the trading volume happening? And we'll zoom in this a little more so you guys can see that. So most of the trade volume is, 24% of all the trade volume in the last 24 hours has been through Binance, like main Binance. So if you're in the US, you can't do that. They do have Binance USA now, does support it. So that's against USD, Ravencoin Direct. Bittrex is one that I personally use. I use Bittrex. I've used Bittrex for quite a long time, but Bittrex is one that you can exchange it to another token, and then that token, if you had like Coinbase or Uphold or T0 Crypto to where you can connect, and I think even Bittrex you could actually connect your bank account to, and then exchange it for value to US dollars if you needed to have that as capital. But you could go into here and you can see. So like if people are asking like, hey, where could I trade, Ergo, and where is that market for that? You get to see, you can see it uses this as a source, right? So you can go in here and see, here is where the most, well, first off, you find out where the liquidity is at. Where is the ability to exchange it at, at any kind of volume. And then you could figure out like, okay, KuCoin, Gate.io, Probix, like Ergo's not on any major exchanges yet with high volume. So like a Bittrex or a Uphold. It's not even on Poloniex, which used to be a good exchange. I don't really use Poloniex anymore. The U.S. folks can't. They kicked all the U.S. folks off of it. But you'd have to use a VPN to try it, and then you take a lot of risk with a VPN. Because if they find out, they could just lock your account. But like KuCoin, and then you can click on that, and then it'll tell you about it, and then it gives you their website. So it's good to use like sources of truth, like empirical sources of truth, because they have so that's why I use something like CoinMarketCap. You could not like CoinMarketCap, which is owned by Binance, but at least they are paid to run some kind of due diligence on these links, because the last thing you want to do is click on one of these things and go to like a hack site, and then now your stuff. There's always a risk, like they miss something, but and then that gives you kind of like a sign up, and then it'll tell you about if you can sign up with them. But that's a way to answer that question earlier, that you can find transactional volume of things from people and find out your stuff there. Red Panda dropping in the house. I hook them up where they can ban people that are bad. So yeah, and we'll ask. Is it better to mine to a pool or provide less latency, or mine to one with in minor fees, or vice versa? So I always would prioritize. Let me switch back to my main screen here. I always prioritize pool mining to location to me. So I'd always go latency first because that's the way they're calculating your share count, and you'll have less stale shares. So the first step in that order process is, do I want my work that my machine is working hard on and I'm paying power for to be accepted by a pool or not? Or is there risk that my shares will get denied because it's going to some other part of the country or world? So U.S. pools, like if you're in the U.S., if it's defined further to like go to US East because, maybe we're closer to the East Coast than the West Coast, define it at that next layer. So that's our first step. Then, you can price pools based on their fees. And I want to see, I don't remember if mining pool stats actually do that or not, but we can go to mining pool stats. Let's go back to this. So mining pool stats gives you kind of the pool breakdown of where the hash rate's going across the the world on a particular token. So right now, like this is on the, let's go here. So like this is Ethereum. Expand this here. And you can see, 22% of the hash rate's going to Ethermine. It does have it based on pool fee. So most of them have, it's like the gas fee. Here, let me zoom this in for people that can't see this. There we go. So you can see like most of these are they're different pool fees and what geographical area they're in. And this will show like if there are multiple coins. So like Flypool, Ethermine, it does these. So you can drill down to see, okay, I like that one pool. I like where they're at. I like that they pay me out and I have confidence in them. Do they support any other tokens? Look at Red Panda dropping $50 Canadian, giving some of that love back. I usually go in there and drop him like a 50 or 100 spot all the time. So he's just paying it back. And Red Panda, the only people that are winning this game is YouTube. But it's okay, my dude. Like a boss. If you guys are not following Red Panda, you should absolutely be following Red Panda. Nemesis, another one. Those blue wrench tags there are YouTube channels, guys, on the crypto space. But that's a way for you to kind of manage like where to mine. So we were talking just earlier where you can use like sell or buy coin, and then where can you mine to, which is like miner pool stats here. And then this just kind of shows you that distribution. One thing that we're going to cover, guys, is a more deeper dive on the why would you pick, like, would you pick the highest? I see this normal question. People say, well, why wouldn't I just pick the top mining pool? Because wouldn't that mean that they're mining a lot? And that means they have more of a chance to share with me. And what it comes down to is the way pool luck works. So computationally, you take the entire network. So in ETH's case right now, it's 585 terahash, right?
Yeah.
That's the total size of pi. Within that, the top one is Ethermine, and then Sparkpool's right next to it, right? Both of them are like 131 terahash, 124 terahash. And if we'll go back to that screen real quick. As I'm explaining this down. You can see the probability of like how many blocks have they won. So that next block over there, it shows the 131 terahash on Ethermine, and then it shows that in the last 100 blocks, so 100 blocks for Ethereum, it's 15-second block time. 100 blocks would be 25 minutes. There's four blocks per minute, and you do the math on it, it's roughly 25 minutes, right? So in the last 25 minutes, they have won 24 of 100 blocks. Okay, so 24% of the network, right? They've won. Sparkpool, which is really close to them, has had not very much luck, right? They've not had a lot of luck because they should be pretty close proportionally to win about the same amount of blocks, right? But they've only won 14. They've won 10 less blocks than they should have. When you look at the math calculation, if their proportional hash rate should be awarding them statistically the amount of same blocks. So it just on this last 25 minutes, Ethermine has been very lucky and has won, a quarter of all the blocks. You'll see at the top what I like to look at when I'm looking at these for other networks. I like to look at in the last 100 blocks how many were unknown. So right up the very, very top up there, it shows the amount of unknown blocks, right? So out of the last 100, almost 9, so that would be what, 9%. So it's 9 out of 100 were not known. These were solo miners, people that had their own pool and not registered anywhere. Nobody knows who they are, and they won an Ethereum block, right? So 9 of them out of 100 out of this network. If you see a majority of the network, more than 51% of those blocks being won by like one person, that's a risk, and that's concerning, and that's even from a known entity, right? Or if you have like more than 51% from like an unknown single address, that's even more, because now that address has a lot of influence on that network. So you'll find some of these lesser coins that are competing for the hash rate on GPU miners that may own, more than 51%, or they're it just updated it, so 10 unknowns now. So like, let's go to like Expanse, and let's like look at Expanse. This is another ETH coin. So 7 unknown, not really risky. 2 miners is top pool, good spread. Expanse in this example is a good spread, not a lot of risk, from 51% on any one pool. We go to like EtherGem. Scroll down to that one. Now here's one. Almost all of the network is on one pool. Digipools.org, right? So the total network is 5.6 gigahash, and 4.5 of that is going to one pool, right? And it doesn't show how many blocks they won on this particular thing here. And that could be just the way the blocks are being read, or they just, all of them have went to Digipool and one of them went to the unknown. We could check Elysium as another example. On some of these smaller networks, where on this one, like 20% of Elysium's network's mined by one person, right? Now that's not a huge 1.5 gigahash, 1.6 gigahash. That's where you could have a situation. 1.6 gigahash. I mean, like our BBT farm is close to 50 gigahash when it's fully up, all right, on Ethash, right? We could literally almost 50 times that network, or a little less than that, 25 times that network on just one pool. So that could be, 800 megahash is like a pretty decent, 12 card rig these days, is like all of what Zerg pool is. So that's part of the risk with a lot of these tokens. And people go, well, what's the risk to the network? Like if a whole bunch of hash power comes over, it all comes down to, well, is it going to be malicious? Can they 51% attack the network? That kind of thing. And some of these pools and networks have implemented checkpoint blocks. So like an example would be like Ethereum Classic has because it got attacked a few times, about 4 times to be exact, where it got 51% attacked, and people did a double spend where they would send coins to an exchange, right? A whole bunch of coins that they already owned.
Yeah.
Sell them, trade them into another token, and then the whole time they're mining they have more hash rate on an unknown, unbroadcasted block, the version of Ethereum Classic, and then they'll broadcast their blocks to show that, hey, we've always had the highest network. The highest network wins. So then everything that they just did was like an Etch-a-Sketch. Right, it just gets rid of it, and then they had double spent, because now they still have all those tokens on that other network.
Yeah,
that's the risk, right? So a lot of these networks take some level of proactiveness to say, okay, I'm competing for all this hash rate. How can I make sure that the network's protected? And the developers that get together with the community and decide on a solution. And Ethereum Classic standpoint, in last November, they came out with this thing called the Thanos update. They just gave it a good name. And they used this mass exponential subjective scoring. So it's a way to say, if you want to attack our network, this community network, right now it's at 25 terahash. And let's say you had 30 terahash, right? You came in, or even more than 50% of that network, right? Let's just say 15 terahash, and you try to attack that network. You would have to show up with the 15, then times 37. Like that's the difficulty calculation. It would have to say, it would say 15 times 37, whatever that number is. If it's 400 terahash, That's the level of amount of hash rate you would actually need to do a double spend on this network now. So they've created ways to protect it from the double spend. So it's still important to see the distribution here. We can see Ethermine on this has a majority. That was one of the concerning things. It would be nice to see like 2 miners start taking some more of that hash rate and spreading out the ether spreading out this 25 terahash because it's close to what 35% of the 25 megahash or 25 terahash here. That number is a little higher than it should be, and people should spread some of that to other areas. I think we're actually mining. I'll check with BBT Todd, but I think our pool setup right now for ETC is actually on 2 miners right now. So that just gives you kind of a background on like how that works. Oh, we got some more super chats. Like a boss. Bravo. Is that Crypto Nuffy coming in there with a bravo? Or was that somebody else? No, that was somebody else. It's Crypto Nuffy was right below it. Sure, I can click on them. That golden wolf. Nice. Thank you for that super chat. If you have a question, ask it, and we'll get it answered. Tim says best explanation on 51% I've heard. Nice, my dude. Thank you very much. And that's what kind of this series is. I mean, we're gonna do more deep dives as I'm trying to bring Ray up to speed to this space. And the whole background with Ray is to didn't have a lot of computer experience in general, and we just started talking about like this is can I get him set up to where in a few weeks you could literally like we started last week. Pretty heavy on this. We've had a couple conversations before it, but nothing that was like on hands. Last week was our previous week was our only on hands that you've had on this stuff, and we'll get through this week's setting up simple mining, Hive, trying a full mining rig, a couple cards on configurations, and then I think we'll come out of that with literally a full build that you literally will do. Like I'm gonna just be there like a fly on the wall, and we'll see how far you can get with it. That might be a live stream. We'll just see how comfortable you are with like doing it. It's okay even in a live stream. Like if you're like, I don't remember this part, that's okay. That's part of what this is. Most people when they're first starting, they'll either put my video on or Red Panda Mining's videos on, Son of Tech video, Boss Coin's video, older videos when he was actually building mining rig stuff. They'll put those on because they were really good reviews and like how to do it things, and they'll have them in the background and try to build it and just hear us repeat and repeat and repeat. Yeah. But I want to see like how far you could get with that, and then ask questions as we start to do it, and just to show that people you could start with like no experience in this and actually start building a mining rig and start to learn from that. But it's also good to hear some of the history of stuff here on the background. Are you going to hook up Ray with some GPUs? Well, the stuff that Ray has built here so far, I pointed to his wallet. So that gear has been pointed to Ray's wallet where he could get into some crypto himself and understand that payment process, because part of this also is going to be what's the frequency, how there's this whole time value money equation stuff when it comes to crypto, the space and mining in general, where like right now, a single 3080 Ti is earning about almost 100, close to 100, maybe it's 70. I have to look at the numbers, but I think it's about 70 Ravencoin per day. It's actually a little lower. I think it might be over a couple days it earned 120. But let's say it's 50 per day. Let's just say it's 5 payouts per day. That's 50 coins, Ravencoin at 15 cents. Well, if Ravencoin gets price discovery after its first halving in January and it becomes like $1.50, well, then that one GPU is earning technically $100. Or $50 a day if it was 50 coins, right? And this is the same kind of stuff that I've went through year after year on new coins where we weren't getting a ton. Like we were, there was a 6-card mining rig I had back in late 2015, 2016, and it earned 100 Ethereum a month, right? That was a single rig, 100 Ethereum a month. I think it was my biggest payout was like 122 Ethereum in 1 month. I think it was October of 2015. And Ethereum was like a couple bucks, right? So it was like, okay, power was expensive. I paid $80 for this rig to run for the month, and I earned maybe $120 or so, right? And or $160 at max. And I was like, well, I guess that's an okay return. As long as it keeps making 100 Ethereum. And you think about that now.
Yeah.
And if you're doing this right now and you're mining Ergo, you're mining something that you guys have researched and believe in and are supporting the network, maybe become a developer in it and help build some of the innovation as part of it. And then, 2 years down the line, it's like, well, I was mining this and it was only 15 cents and now it's like $3 or something, right? It's that whole longer term perspective on price discovery that can happen with it as new features are brought out onto some of these networks and creates a better value proposition for everybody. You are the upholder of those networks as a miner. You are supporting those networks and making them process, the proof of work, and the node providers are processing the transaction history, right? Like once the miner has created that block and submitted it out to the network, it's stored in all those nodes. So it's good stuff. First crypto payout should be a 24 pack of Bush Light. Somebody says, there you go. Yeah. Now getting straight crypto is pretty good. So what else is going on, guys? We weren't going to do a huge live stream here because we got some other stuff to record here, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to ask questions and stuff. Let's see what else they got today. Any suggestions on setting a new AMD card switching from Raven? I'm getting about 250 watts once I switch from ETH to Raven. I managed to lower it 150 watts, but it still seems too much. So it depends what card you're running. But again, you can pull back your core. Even though it's a core heavy algorithm, I still pull back those cores and pull back your voltages pretty low. You might get less than what you have heard a card would do from a mega hash, but it's okay as long as you're not toasting your card out. Good morning from Indonesia. So that's, it would be morning there of the next day. What's today, the 16th? Yeah. Thoughts on Pulse Chain? I think that is Richard Hart's evolution of Hex, correct? That's like a fork of Ethereum. I haven't looked into it too much, to be honest with you. I haven't. I don't really track too much of the proof of stake stuff yet. I'm more of in the space and education space when it comes to proof of work mining than taking a stake into something. As when we start seeing more and more proof of stake becoming a thing, maybe we'll pivot some of that. But like right now, I just haven't looked into it, to be honest with you. Will XRP gonna fly up like a rocket in the next 2 months? I have no idea. XRP right now is still being investigated by the SEC. Well, I think they got to get through their legal troubles first. Is there any way to keep track of your payouts for taxes? Yes, there's a couple different tax alternatives there. I used to use a tax software. Now we do everything through Excel and APIs, but there are tax softwares, and they're getting better from my understanding, where you can have directed APIs. I have a couple that have reached out. I think it's like Coin Tracker. There's another one out there about maybe doing a review on their product. I haven't. If that's something people would want to see, like the problem with that's a hard video to do because you have to. There's a lot of PII in it, which is personally identified information when you're doing tax stuff. So I'd have to create an alternative kind of a series of accounts and exchange accounts to do you guys justice on a video like that. Or I just got to blur everything. It's a really crappy thing to try to show, unfortunately. Pulse is a fork of Ethereum, but it's Ethereum with proof of stake, right? It's not a mineable chain, right? Thoughts on dual mining with Ethash? I mean, we used to do it back in the day with like Coin. It was just really hard on the GPUs. Levy, push light money. There it is. You just bought a 20 pack or 24 pack there. Levy, if you follow us on Twitter, I'll send you a screenshot. I'll send you a picture of the bush light, my dude. We'll make sure that it goes to some beer. For me, he's still too young for it. Build, mine, hold, repeat. There you go, Crypto Nuffy. You know it. Can you tell the difference between? Can you tell me the core difference between core temperature and memory temperature? Yeah, the core is actually the GPU core, and then the memory is the actual memory temperature. And there's another temperature that you'll hear a lot of, which is the VRM temperature, which is the voltage regulation modules on a GPU. And that's exactly what they say. It's the voltage regulation, and those things are usually your hottest part of the card typically. So you'll see something called junction temperature, which is right around that. Junction temperature is now measured by some of the tools, and you'll see like the core you never want really over 85. I mean, that's just really hard and hot to run a core. I typically like to see 70 and below on the core temperature Celsius. VRMs can get as high as like 110 C, which is 10 degrees over boiling water. But if you can keep them down around 95 C, it's still okay. That's like normal operating temperature for them. I mean, if you can run anything lower, it's great. But memory temperatures, again, also keeping them under 80, 85 C at max are good. But sometimes you'll see like the Radeon 7's a perfect example. I don't have any of the Radeon 7's here. They're all up at the farm, but I took the last one that I had up there and needed to actually, I shouldn't have taken it. I made a mistake. I wanted to keep one down here, but Radeon 7s are a perfect example where they have HBM2 memory. It's just a different type of memory. And their junction temperatures would always shoot to like 110 C. And they have a high fell rate. The Radeon 7s do. Probably something to do with boiling water temperatures all the time. When's the best time to shut down rigs, move, or clean them in the short term, nights or weekends, or does it not matter? Typically, we try to do all of our heavy stuff when it's the hottest times of the year because we're running the cards as already hard. And if you can do any of your kind of moves when you have like, if you have a week that's like going to be 100 plus Fahrenheit, in your area and your AC or your cooling's crap, just like treat that as like, oh, it looks like I'm on a maintenance this week, and just shut it down. Don't stress the cards. From your experience, would you see liquid immersion as a viable solution to mining in a residential environment? We're still going through that liquid immersion. It's taking some time to put that together. You guys will see some updates with that. BBT Todd's working some of the last bits to make sure we could do our leak down test there. It's a pretty extensive process with that. I wouldn't say that you couldn't do it. It's just a pretty high expense to do that. The problem is with the immersion is you're going to have a dry cooler, and let's say you go with a smaller setup. The dry cooler is still going to be like twice the size of your outside air conditioner unit, and it's going to be kind of loud. So I can't imagine like being a neighbor and you have this like massive dry cooler on the side of your house. There might be zoning issues with that too. I mean, it all comes back down to how you're doing the cooling part of it. There could be immersion setups that you have, like if you have a pool or something and you use it as a temperature thing, but it becomes a science project at that point because not a lot of people have either done that or even have the know-how to do that, and you're literally engineering it on the fly. Where we're having at least some level of guidance from the engineering fluids folks on the full setup, right? So we're not having to like invent the cooling mechanism or the routing of the piping. We're getting just it set up for our particular situation, but that hard science has already been done and it's already been established in other places. If you're doing it at home, like you could still have that same kind of setup, but now you're talking like large dry cooler, prefabbed, tanks, with some customization of how your flow plates are going to work. So, I mean, it becomes a science project. So I would just caution people that would be doing it that way. And you'll see as we start to develop more of the videos for the farm, you'll see some of the costs that are involved in that. We're going to bring the cost to you guys, and then some of the fabrication stuff we had to do with it. Can I get a 588 gig Red Devil to 31 mega hash without a BIOS mod? Yes, you can. Miguel de Jesus. So if you're using simple mining, and we'll show you that here in the next couple days with the video, because we actually have some MSI cards that are 588 gigs, and you'll do that through having a special setting that's part of the miners that are out there. So you can actually set, and then it will auto tune to the correct memory injection, which is effectively what your BIOS mod would have done. The old BIOS mods, we used to have to like download the settings for the GPU, which is called BIOS. And the BIOS just has what your memory settings are and your core clock settings, and then how it ramps and slows down when it's like for gaming. You could go in there and modify those things, and you would just save a new BIOS over to it. And it wasn't hard, but it was like time consuming, and you could mess it up, and then the card would be bricked, which means like you would have to do all this crazy stuff to try to recover it. You don't have to do that now, because the whole point of what we were all doing when we were BIOS modding cards were trying to just get the most optimal settings for the memory, because a series of things are happening when you're mining. It's trying to optimize it. And you can have these things that are called straps, which are just like the memory straps, are like the sequencing of when certain things are occurring when it goes through memory. All of that now has been coded as part of the miner. So the miner will have a list of these binaries that are included with it, which are called bin files. And those will have a whole bunch of prefab settings for the different memory brand combos. So it'll be like, oh, this is Samsung memory, this type, you should probably use this strap. So those straps are now included with a lot of those, and you'll see that when we do the update to the video coming up this week. I'll cover that piece there for you guys. Yeah, Team Red Miner will auto config, and you'll see that when it's actually running through it, and how it ramps up. It'll start with like a particular card. It might say it's like 15 mega hash, and then the next time it does that check, you'll see when it went up to like 50. Remember, we saw that on the last card. You'll see it kind of ramp over time. These are good questions, guys. Great questions. Keep them up. You guys have any others? I saw it spike to like 370 people. So somebody shared the link, and we had a whole bunch of people hit it. I spilled my coffee on my 1070 Ti. Now it trips the power supply. Is there a way to recover it, or is it bricked? So sad. So what I would do, I'm going to tell you how to recover this, my dude. If you watch, it's actually our most viewed video, and I have the B-roll of this that I need to put together a separate video, but you could ultrasonic clean it, because more than likely you still have some kind of, some corrosion between the way where the GPU core is setting. So there's a whole bunch of just the little connectors of how that GPU sets in there. You can actually get some stuff that will like the sugars and stuff will kind of glue those together, and it will create an arc. And what you're probably doing is shorten it out. What I would do is tear down the whole card, take off the power, the heat sink, all of that, and clean the card. And you can clean that a few different ways, but if you can get access to an ultrasonic cleaner, they're not really that expensive. I think you can get one now for like almost $60, and it's actually good to have for all kinds of things. You can clean like jewelry with it. It's actually not just for GPUs, but get one that's large enough to fit your GPU in there, and you could actually recover it with that. It'll clean up that whole GPU, get rid of all the particulates and things that are around that's probably causing your short. And you can check the card for corrosion too before that. I would tear down the card first before you buy any of that, just to see if there's any kind of corrosion on any of the ends of it. But I have recovered cards that have gotten things spilled on them before. I actually had it was an unfortunate situation, but I had a friend that was over. We had a rig set up on the stand here. It was off, and they had brought over a 2-liter that they didn't realize wasn't like, it was shook up, and they opened it and the 2-liter just sprayed all over. It was like dropping a Mentos thing inside of a 2-liter, and it went all over a machine, like all down the machine. It was soaked the motherboard. It was a disaster. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. And it was like half the 2-liter. I mean, it was like, oh no, it's like, get it away from the computer. What are you doing? You know, like, it was a disaster. But like all those cards were recovered, and it just takes cleaning it. Colin says, thank you so much for doing the videos with Ray. I was a noob like 3 months ago. Now I have an 8 GPU 30 series running, and the experience is nothing feels better than someone wanting to learn from you. There it is, man. Yeah. I mean, you're enjoying the learning part, right? Yeah, it's like drinking from a fire hose, but yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. Yeah, we're keeping it coming, man. We have a really good, I think, as we're going through and exploring with it. I mean, this is like drinking from a fire hose from him, but like, he's asking questions. I mean, we had a brief, we'll close out on this kind of last bit here. We were talking about Ethereum earlier, and then we were talking about Ethereum Classic. And I'll let you tell me what you asked. You're like, what's...
I asked them what the difference between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic was. Like, what happened there?
Yeah, so it's a good question. You know, like if you're outside looking in and you're like, so what's up? Why is there an Ethereum Classic? And like, I was like, oh, this is a little short story here. But bottom line, with a lot of these crypto networks in general, like there's a vision, there's a path, there's a group of people that come together, they make something. And there was this instance of a new smart contract deployed to Ethereum called the DAO. It's a decentralized autonomous organization. And the DAO was effectively raising capital where you would have this other token under it. So it would be called the DAO token. Mm-hmm. And this would allow you to participate in the features that the DAO is going to uphold, like governance stuff. And so a whole bunch of people took Ethereum and they put it into the DAO, right? They transferred their Ethereum into this thing, and then you got a corresponding DAO token. Like I forgot what the total conversion rate was. I think it was 1 to 5 or something. So like you put 1 Ethereum, you get 5 DAO tokens out of it. Well, there was an error in the smart contract, and somebody depleted all of the money out of it. They transferred all of the money out of the DAO, or a pretty good portion of it, before they could stop it. And it was something crazy, the amount of Ethereum that was poured into this. I would say it was in the high percentile of like 11 to 12% or something of ETH, if not more, of like all of the ETH that was out there. And ETH started as like a pre-mine and a capital raise to sell to investors. So there's 117 million Ethereum out there, right? Yeah. 70 million Ethereum was pre-sold. So they mined it like from like May to June or whatever. They just pre-mined quickly a certain amount of Ethereum. They sold it to a whole bunch of people. So there was thousands of different people that bought all this Ethereum. And then so there was already a lot of Ethereum out there in the ecosystem when this DAO thing happened. So a lot of these people invested in this DAO. Well, this person hacked it, stole this Ethereum. So there was like this consensus where they were like, we're gonna modify the contract to where we're gonna take those funds from them. So they didn't roll back the chain. A lot of people get confused thinking that the chain was rolled back, which is like I'd call it, not to get religious here or anything to anybody, but I'm just using it as a point of reference. It was like the Antichrist of blockchain. Like you don't want to go back in history and reverse blocks, because you create a whole bunch of issues. Like every block, transactions occur. Me, you trade money. contracts are happening, exchanges have done stuff. So the confusion was like, a lot of people were like, oh, they rolled back the chain. Well, they couldn't roll back the chain, because then you would have erased all those transactions from occurring, and exchanges would have been screwed and all this other stuff. But what they did is they took that part of the DAO, that attack that happened, and kind of got rid of that and said, nope, like an Etch-a-Sketch, that didn't happen. Well, there was enough motivation in the space to say, yeah, no, we're not going to play that game. Like, no, we're going to continue to mine. So there was a hard fork date set saying, this is what to do this, we need to have these new rules that didn't occur. And then if you have miners on both sides and node providers that are saying, nope, I'm going to keep a version of the history where that wasn't done, that wasn't changed. So at that time, where that typical hard fork, which is like a Y in the road, and most people on most of the Ethereum hard forks, they all go to the left. They'll just follow the consensus. There was a split. So at that moment in time, one side went to Ethereum Classic, and you had developers go over there, and you had like the purist of blockchain folks just say, yeah, no, we're not gonna. There's no bailouts here. This is a hard lesson to learn. You have more due diligence on your smart contracts. And then there was Ethereum. So Ethereum has that fixed, and then Ethereum Classic still has the old DAO stuff. It's the original chain, as it were.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of politics I have not got into with them guys on like original chain stuff with like Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin and all that. We'll save that for a BitsBeTrippin night. But there's a lot of politics in the space when it comes to like what's the original chain and not, and that kind of thing. At the end of the day, it's where all the effort is and where all the majority of the brain trust is at, and where the features. And both Ethereum and Ethereum Classic both have development teams. They both have their own value propositions, and they're just two different chains now at this point. There's just a lot of interoperability potential, because like whatever's built on Ethereum, a lot of that could be just, oh, that code works over here too. So you have kind of a lot of good benefit to things. So hopefully the people that hadn't been tracking and just got that update, you guys know what that is now. Mike John says, best explanation of the DAO hack I've ever heard. I'm just slapping them out here tonight. BitsBeTrippin. There's a few people that know what BitsBeTrippin was. I used to build rigs on Twitch at night, and I'd be drinking when I did it. So those are usually pretty good nights. What do you think about the X79 H61 mining motherboard socket R5 PCI? I don't know that one, man. I'll have to take a look. I look at it. Don't feel, if you guys thought I didn't miss, or if I missed one of your guys' questions, I always go back through these and take a look at everything that you guys say. So it's like this weird thing I do. I'll go watch the video and I'll read through all the chat and just see if I missed anything from anybody. It's a blockchain history channel. I've been around long enough to say that. I mean, I like it when people discover, when they go to like our videos, and then they'll sort it by oldest first, and they'll see like, dude, you were doing mining videos back in December of 2013? like, oh my God, how did I not find this? Did the person who did the DAO hack ever sell his ETC? I don't think so. I mean, I could be, I think it just sat there. I think what it came down to is the person was worried that he'd been found out. That's the other thing with crypto hacks, is like your escalation of getting found is pretty quick if you've hacked a lot of money, because the telemetry is there to watch all of this happen. So at some point you're going to cross some honeypot and be found. You better be drinking Pure Future BBT. There you go. Yeah, it'd be a good time. All right, guys, we're right at the top of the hour at 1 hour. We wanted to do a live stream at the max of 1 hour. If you guys like these, maybe we can make this like the Monday series or something, and just kind of go through stuff as we go. There's so much to cover in this space. We haven't gotten into like NFTs and DeFi and Dark Forest and all this other stuff that I don't want to totally confuse you on yet until you have an appreciation of the basics of crypto, and then we can get into that. How much interoperability is there between Ethereum code and the new projects using Solidity? It's still pretty good. So if they're using Solidity, there is a lot of interoperability. The things where you'll have not interoperability with it is when you have like a coin that's made some updates to things, like their features are different, so they might have different opcodes that in your Solidity contract won't match. Like Ray looks bored.
Not bored.
You're not bored?
No, taking in the information.
He's drinking from a fire hose, my dudes. Awesome. All right, my dudes. We're going to wrap this one up. We'll check the consensus if you guys want to see more of this this style, and we can go through, just pick a subject and just go through it. Otherwise, we're going to get back to doing some of the build videos, and then you guys will see that tomorrow. Those episodes start back up. We're going to have one every day this week, covering a range of stuff on Linux, the build, simple mining, configuration, pools, all of that kind of stuff. So, all right, my dudes. I will catch you guys in a bit.